You know, in all my years studying the human psyche, exploring the depths of the unconscious, working with thousands of patients, I've observed something absolutely remarkable that occurs when two people who have truly individuated encounter each other. It's not what the poets romanticize. It's not what society expects. It's something far more subtle, far more transformative, and in many ways far more mysterious than anything our collective consciousness has prepared us to understand. Most relationships, if I'm being honest with you, are based on projection. Two people come together because each sees in the other something they've repressed in themselves. The man projects his anima, his inner feminine, onto the woman. The woman projects her animus, her inner masculine, onto the man. And they fall in love not with each other, but with their own unconscious contents reflected back at them. This is what we call falling in love. But it's really falling into illusion. It's two shadows dancing with each other, mistaking the dance for substance. It's two people in love with ghosts, with phantoms, with pieces of themselves they've refused to acknowledge. And there's nothing inherently wrong with this, mind you. This is how most of humanity relates. These relationships can function, can produce families, can create stability, but they're built on a fundamental unconsciousness. They're built on the belief that the other person is responsible for your wholeness, that salvation comes from without rather than from within, that another human being can integrate what you've left fragmented in your own soul. But when two individuated souls meet, something entirely different occurs. And the first thing you must understand is that individuated souls don't project onto each other. Let me say that again because it's absolutely crucial. They don't project onto each other. They've already withdrawn their projections. They've already confronted their shadow, integrated their anima or animus, encountered their self. They've done the painful, exhausting work of becoming conscious of their own unconscious. They are no longer seeking completion through another because they've discovered that wholeness was always an inside endeavor. So when two such people encounter each other, they're not coming together to heal each other's wounds. They're coming together because they recognize something, not because they need something. And this simple distinction transforms the entire archetypal pattern of the relationship. The whole quality changes when it's based on consciousness rather than unconsciousness, on recognition rather than projection, on authentic encounter rather than psychological compensation. Think about it this way. When you're psychologically starving, when your inner world is impoverished, you'll attach to almost anyone who seems to offer nourishment. You're not really seeing the person. You're just trying to fill the void. But when you've already done the inner work, when you've already discovered the treasure in your own unconscious, then if you choose to relate deeply with another, it's pure gift. You're seeing the person as they actually are, not as a container for your unlived life, not as a solution to your inner fragmentation. This is what happens when individuated souls come together. They're not using each other as psychological crutches. They're not trying to extract from each other what they haven't cultivated within themselves. They're simply meeting authentically two whole people, encountering each other without the fog of projection obscuring their vision. And here's what I find fascinating. Because neither person is projecting, because neither is demanding that the other carry their unconscious contents, there's a kind of psychological freedom in the relationship that most people never experience. Each person can be themselves, can continue their own individuation process, can evolve. There's no unconscious demand that the other remain fixed, frozen in whatever role the projection required. There's no desperate clinging to an image that was never real to begin with. When an individuated person looks at another individuated person, they're not seeing a savior or a mother figure or a hero. They're seeing another human being engaged in the same difficult work of becoming conscious. They're recognizing that the self speaking through that person is the same self speaking through all of existence. It's one psyche experiencing itself through different forms, playing what I've come to understand as the cosmic game of individuation. This recognition creates a very particular kind of relationship. It's not the symbiotic fusion of two people who fear separation. It's not the dramatic entanglement of two egos locked in a power struggle. It's something much more spacious, much more mature. It's the relationship of two alchemists who understand the great work, who don't need to merge their vessels to feel whole, who can work independently while still honoring the mystery of conjunction. Let me tell you what doesn't happen when two individuated souls meet. There's no psychological drama. Oh, there might be passion, there might be intensity, but there's no unconscious acting out. No games, no manipulation, no archetypal possession where one person becomes the terrible mother and the other becomes the puer aeternus. Both people have made the unconscious conscious. They're not compulsively repeating childhood patterns with each other. There's no devouring jealousy, or at least no unconscious jealousy. An individuated person might feel jealousy arise because the archetypes still move through us, but they don't identify with it. They don't let it possess them. They observe it, understand its archetypal roots, perhaps even dialogue with it in active imagination. They see it for what it is. A complex being activated, nothing more, nothing less. There's no fear of abandonment in the neurotic sense because the individuated person has encountered their own wholeness. They know that even if the other person leaves, they haven't lost their self. They might feel genuine grief at the ending of a meaningful relationship, but they don't experience that primitive terror that comes from believing your psychological survival depends on another person's presence. And perhaps most importantly, there's no attempt to possess the other person's soul. The individuated individual understands that you cannot possess another's psyche any more than you can bottle the ocean or chain the wind. The other person is on their own journey, has their own relationship with the self, will follow their own path of individuation. And rather than seeing this as threatening, the individuated person sees it as sacred. They're not trying to cage the bird, they're honoring the bird's need to fly. So what does happen when two individuated souls meet? First, there's recognition. It's often immediate. Not the infantile love at first sight of projection, but a deeper recognition of, I see that you've done the work and you see that I've done the work. There's a kind of psychological transparency that occurs. All the usual personas, all the social masks, all the ego defenses, they become unnecessary. Both people can relax into their authentic nature because neither is trying to manipulate the other's perception. This recognition creates a very particular quality of dialogue. When individuated souls communicate, they're not just defending ego positions or trying to win arguments or inflating themselves at the other's expense. They're exploring the psyche together. They're examining symbols, investigating dreams, playing with ideas. They can disagree completely about an interpretation without it threatening the relationship because they're not identified with being right. They know that the unconscious is vast, mysterious, and no single perspective can capture its totality. There's also a profound respect, not the superficial respect of politeness, but a deep honoring of the mystery that each person embodies. The individuated soul knows that they cannot fully comprehend another's inner world, can never completely map another's psyche, and they don't try to. They allow the other person to remain mysterious, to surprise them, to reveal new depths. They're not trying to analyze the other person into submission. They're appreciating the inexhaustible nature of the human soul. When two individuated souls are together, there's often comfortable silence. They don't need to fill every moment with chatter. They can simply be in each other's presence, two consciousnesses resting together. The silence isn't awkward. It's full, alive, pregnant with meaning. They're communing at a level deeper than words, psyche touching psyche, self-recognizing self. And when they do speak, there's a quality of listening that's quite rare. Each person is genuinely hearing the other, not just waiting to insert their own interpretation, not filtering everything through their own complexes. They're open, curious, willing to be changed by what they hear. This is what I call genuine psychological encounter. There's also a particular kind of humor that emerges. They can laugh at the absurdity of the psyche together, at the strange compensatory mechanisms, at the trickster nature of the unconscious. They don't take themselves too seriously. They can laugh at their own shadow, at their own inflation, at the cosmic joke of human consciousness trying to understand itself. Physical intimacy, when it occurs between individuated souls, takes on a completely different quality. It's not about filling a void or proving something or acting out an unconscious fantasy. It's a conscious encounter, a meeting of two embodied souls. It's what the alchemists call the conjunctio, the sacred marriage, where the conscious and unconscious unite not in fusion, but in creative tension. There's no performance anxiety because neither person is identified with their persona. There's no disconnection because both people are present, aware, honoring the mystery of erotic energy as a manifestation of the self. And here's something interesting. Individuated souls can be together or apart with equal psychological ease. They don't cling to constant togetherness out of fear. They understand that solitude and relationship are both necessary, that withdrawal can be as important as engagement. They can give each other space without it activating abandonment complexes. They can come together without it triggering fusion fantasies. There's a natural rhythm to the relationship, like the systole and diastole of the heart, coming together and moving apart. And neither phase is pathologized. When conflicts arise, as they inevitably do, because we're still human beings with egos and complexes, they're handled very differently. There's no need for ego victory. There's no need to prove superiority. Both people are more interested in understanding the psychological dynamics at play than in winning. They can admit when they've been possessed by a complex without it destroying their sense of self. They can apologize without resentment. They can forgive without keeping a ledger of wrongs. The conflict becomes an opportunity for greater consciousness. There's also a natural generosity in the relationship, not the compulsive giving of someone trying to earn love through self-sacrifice, but the organic generosity of someone who's already found their center. The individuated soul gives because giving is an expression of wholeness, not because they expect reciprocity. They support the other person's individuation, even when that journey takes the person in unexpected directions. They want the other person to become who they truly are, even if that means growing beyond the relationship. And this brings me to a crucial point. When two individuated souls meet, they understand that the relationship might not be permanent, and they're psychologically equipped to handle that. They're not trying to create an eternal fusion to guarantee permanence, to make vows that deny the reality of psychological change. They're honoring the relationship now, fully, completely, without demanding that it remain unchanged forever. And paradoxically, this very acceptance of impermanence often allows the relationship to deepen and endure in ways that fear-based relationships cannot. There's also a quality of surrender in the relationship. Not one person surrendering to another's will, but both people surrendering to something larger than ego consciousness. They're allowing the self to move through them, to express itself through their connection. They're not forcing the relationship to conform to some ego ideal. They're letting it be what it wants to be, letting it follow its own organic process, trusting the wisdom of the psyche. When individuated souls are together, they naturally call forth each other's highest potential, but not through criticism or projection or trying to fix each other. They do it simply by being themselves, by embodying what it looks like to live consciously, by creating a psychological space where the other person feels safe to drop their defenses and confront their own shadow. Each person's individuation supports the other's individuation. It's a kind of resonance, like two tuning forks creating a harmonic that neither could produce alone. There's also a sense of what I call sacred ordinariness in the relationship. Everything becomes meaningful, becomes symbolic. Even the mundane activities, preparing food together, sitting in silence, walking in nature, these ordinary moments become infused with presence, with the recognition that the self is expressing itself through every moment, every gesture, every glance. They're not waiting for some extraordinary peak experience to feel alive. They're finding the numinous in the everyday, the eternal in the temporal. And here's something that might surprise you. Individuated souls still feel all the emotions. They feel attraction, affection, anger, sadness, even jealousy and fear. But they don't identify with these emotions. They don't let them possess their ego consciousness. They don't build elaborate stories around them or project their source onto the other person. They feel them, observe them, understand them as movements of psychic energy, and then let them transform. It's like weather passing through the psyche. The self doesn't cling to the storm or push away the sunshine. It allows both to move through. When two individuated souls meet, there's also a recognition that the relationship is not about personal happiness or ego gratification. It's not about completing each other or finding security together. It's about something much larger, something transpersonal. It's about consciousness becoming conscious of itself, about the self experiencing itself in relationship, about the psyche exploring its own depths through the encounter of two people who've remembered what they truly are. I once wrote that before individuation, you live unconsciously. After individuation, you still live. The actions might look the same from the outside, but the inner experience is completely transformed. The same could be said for relationships. Before individuation, you relate to another person. After individuation, you still relate to another person. But the quality, the consciousness, the depth is entirely different. The individuated relationship is not free from challenges, mind you. There are still practical matters to navigate, still ego conflicts to resolve, still complexes that can be activated. But these challenges are not seen as pathologies. They are seen as opportunities for greater consciousness, for deeper self-knowledge, for more complete integration. Every difficulty becomes a teacher. Every conflict becomes a doorway to greater psychological wholeness. And perhaps most beautifully, when two individuated souls meet, they create what I call a psychological field that affects everyone around them. Their presence together has a quality that others can sense even if they can't name it. It's grounded but not rigid. It's alive but not chaotic. It's loving but not sentimental. It radiates outward, touching everyone it encounters, inviting others to begin their own journey of individuation. This is what happens when two individuated souls meet. Not the unconscious projection and desperate clinging of neurotic love, but something far more precious. A meeting of two beings who've confronted their shadow, who've withdrawn their projections, who can dance together without losing themselves, who can be completely intimate and completely individuated at the same time. It's a relationship not of unconscious need but of conscious choice, not of possession but of honoring, not of fear but of psychological maturity, not of becoming but of being. And in this being together, in this mutual recognition, in this dance of consciousness with consciousness, something profound is revealed. That love is not something that happens between two separate egos trying to merge, but the recognition that at the deepest level there are no two separate souls. There's only the self, experiencing itself through infinite forms, playing the eternal game of losing itself and finding itself again over and over in the great mystery we call human relationship.